For centuries, the Amazons were dismissed as impossible warriors invented entirely by the Greek imagination alone.
Then archaeologists opened steppe graves and discovered women buried with wounds, horses, arrows, armor, and weapons.
But the graves revealed no hidden Amazon kingdom, legendary capital, or evidence of one female army.
Instead, they exposed a complicated reality. Nomadic women hunted, rode, defended families, and fought beside men.
Weapons beside a skeleton can mislead, because burial objects may represent status, family, ritual, or memory. But some female remains also carried healed injuries, riding stress, and equipment designed for mounted archery.
Across the open steppe, survival demanded that every capable rider could hunt, migrate, and defend livestock.
For some women, those daily skills could become battlefield abilities when rival groups threatened their communities. To Greek travelers, these mounted women challenged a familiar belief. Warfare belonged exclusively to men alone. Their reports crossed the Black Sea, where unfamiliar steppe realities transformed into stories of terrifying Amazons. The people Greeks called Scythians occupied no single empire, but interconnected territories stretching across Eurasian steppe. Different tribes shared related customs, animal art, mobile lifestyles, and skills that astonished settled civilizations nearby. Horses carried families between seasonal pastures, transported possessions, expanded hunting grounds, and made enormous distances manageable. That mobility also created fast warriors who could strike, retreat, regroup, and disappear beyond pursuing armies. Their compact composite bows delivered remarkable power from horseback, while specialized cases kept arrows within reach. Years of practice allowed riders to aim while accelerating, turning, or controlling horses with their knees. Scythian society was unequal, organized through families, clans, alliances, and elites who displayed status through objects. Some high-ranking women received elaborate burials, suggesting status and authority were not confined entirely to men. Above many graves, communities raised enormous earthen mounds called kurgans, creating landmarks visible across the grasslands. Inside, chambers preserved clothing, weapons, horse equipment, ornaments, and human remains for future archaeologists to study. On the steppe, riding began early because horses shaped travel, herding, hunting, communication, and daily survival. Girls raised in these communities could develop the balance, endurance, and confidence expected from skilled riders. Mounted archery required years of coordination, combining horsemanship, endurance, weapon familiarity, and awareness of moving terrain. Archaeology cannot reconstruct individual lessons, but surviving equipment reveals a culture deeply invested in mounted warfare. Not all Scythian women became warriors, just as not every man entered battle or received weapons. The graves represent selected individuals, preserving exceptional lives rather than a complete portrait of steppe society. During raids or territorial conflict, experienced riders could defend camps, livestock, migration routes, and family members. For capable women, joining resistance may have been practical necessity, not evidence of a female nation. When an experienced woman died, her community might bury objects representing her rank, identity, and achievements. Centuries later, those carefully arranged belongings became the strongest evidence connecting real women with Amazon traditions. Greek colonies along the Black Sea brought merchants, soldiers, and storytellers into contact with Scythian communities. Trade exchanged grain, metalwork, wine, and information. But cultural differences could easily transform observation into legend. Greek writers filtered unfamiliar steppe customs through their assumptions about civilization, gender, warfare, and social order. A woman riding armed beside men could therefore appear extraordinary enough to become something deliberately mythological. Herodotus later told how Amazons reached Scythian lands, encountered young men, and formed a community together.
His account preserved Greek storytelling, not eyewitness proof, but it linked Amazon mythology with steppe peoples.
Amazon stories already existed within Greek tradition before Herodotus connected them to Scythian and Sarmatian peoples. So steppe warrior women may have strengthened an older legend rather than creating it from nothing. Greek artists dressed Amazons in trousers, patterned garments, pointed caps, and equipment associated with Eastern riders. This visual change suggests contact helped reshape the legend, even if archaeology cannot prove direct inspiration. Within Greek mythology, Heracles confronted Hippolyta, and her strength made his challenge appear worthy of legend. Another legend placed an Amazon army at Athens, turning warrior women into enemies threatening Greek civilization. At Troy, later tradition placed Queen Penthesilea beside defenders, leading Amazons into battle against invading Greeks. Her encounter with Achilles became one of mythology's enduring images, blending admiration, danger, and tragic defeat. Amazons represented more than dangerous enemies. They imagined a society where Greek expectations about gender reversed. Their defeat restored the expected order, allowing Greek audiences to explore anxiety without challenging social structures. After the Persian Wars, Athenian monuments increasingly used Amazon battles to symbolize victory over Eastern invaders. Warrior women transformed again, becoming political symbols that reinforced Greek civic pride and collective memory afterward. For centuries, Amazons survived through poems, monuments, paintings, and retellings, while possible historical counterparts remained buried. The story seemed mythical until archaeology began uncovering women whose lives resembled fragments of the legend. Inside a late 4th century BCE Don region kurgan, archaeologists uncovered 4 female burials together with weapons and ornaments. One adult wore an elaborate ceremonial headdress decorated with gold, revealing high rank within her community. Rather than proving queenship, the ceremonial caliphess demonstrated elite identity through carefully arranged decorated metal plates. Because it survived beside her head, archaeologists could reconstruct its form confidently from earlier fragmented examples. The burial also contained an iron dagger and forked arrowhead, joining ceremonial prestige with martial objects. Yet objects alone cannot reveal whether she fought, commanded, hunted, inherited status, or combined multiple roles. 4 burials occurred together, yet researchers cannot explain their shared event, family relationship, or surrounding circumstances. The uncertainty matters because mystery should invite investigation, not invented certainty about an Amazon royal household. Determining biological sex from ancient remains requires careful skeletal analysis and, when preservation allows, genetic evidence. Earlier excavators sometimes classified weapon burials as male automatically, allowing modern reassessment to reveal overlooked women. Skeletal evidence can preserve signs of repeated riding, labor, or healed trauma, but interpretation remains difficult. No single mark proves combat, because accidents, hunting, migration, and everyday work could create similar patterns. Repeated weapons beside women across different regions and generations make isolated coincidence increasingly difficult to argue. Patterns matter more than one spectacular burial, revealing broader possibilities within Scythian and Sarmatian nomadic societies. The proportion of armed female burials varies by region, date, excavation quality, and definitions researchers apply. Therefore, dramatic percentages should never replace careful comparison of complete cemeteries, preservation, and local burial customs. The strongest cases combine biological sex, secure artifact placement, skeletal context, dating, and undisturbed excavation records. Together, these clues support credible possibilities without turning every armed woman into a legendary Amazon queen. Archaeology confirms some steppe women were buried with martial equipment and horse gear, suggesting warfare-related identities. What it cannot confirm is that they called themselves Amazons or belonged to a women-only nation. Greek mythology compressed many distant communities into one dramatic image, the independent, battle-ready Amazon warrior queen. History instead reveals varied individuals whose roles depended upon status, family, region, danger, opportunity, and circumstance. History confirms armed steppe women, mounted communities, elite burials, and lives more complex than Greeks imagined. Myth added queens, women-only armies, impossible kingdoms, heroic duels, and claims archaeology cannot verify through evidence. Modern discoveries never proved every Amazon story true. They overturned assumptions that warrior women were impossible. Archaeology transformed the question from whether such women existed to how their lives shaped enduring mythology. The real women behind the Amazon legend needed no impossible kingdom. Their graves preserve extraordinary lives. They entered Greek imagination, vanished beneath the steppe, and waited until archaeology restored their forgotten stories.